Hello, my name is Maya Návar, and I am a rising senior at Stanford University studying linguistics and comparative literature. This summer, I had the privilege of working with Professor Graham Jones and Casey Hong in the Language and Technology Lab, and today I'll be presenting our research in this lightning talk titled UFOs Apparently, Evidential Strategies and Epistemic Adverbs in Scientific Discourse on #UFO Twitter. Social media is becoming an increasingly popular and legitimized site of academic discourse and scientific conversation. Platforms like Twitter have become highly trafficked and incredibly accessible spaces in which to post, share, and discuss scientific information and data. Most recently, we have seen this with discourse around topics like COVID-19 and the climate crisis. As a site of scientific discourse, platforms like Twitter are distinct from super straight platforms and channels like academia and industry, in that there is no review process or institutionalized standard of acceptability that must be met before data can be disseminated. This has led to widespread concern about misinformation and disinformation, problems which are tied to the issue of evidence in scientific discourse. In linguistics, we talk about evidence using the term evidentiality, which describes the set of particular linguistic resources for talking about knowledge. Evidentiality can be marked in many different ways. In some languages, it is built into grammar. You literally cannot talk about knowledge in these languages without indicating where that knowledge came from. Other languages like English don't grammatically encode evidentiality in this way. We call a non-grammatical marking of evidence evidential strategies. These include things like epistemic adverbs, adverbs that evaluate the truth value of the statement they modify, as well as quoted or reported speech, and the presentation of actual evidence itself. Some platforms like Twitter also offer users unique evidential affordances, like the retweet and quote tweet functions, tagging other users, and replying within the thread of another tweet, all ways to indicate where knowledge or information originally came from. These strategies are all conscious and intentional efforts to avoid the social consequences that come with giving unconfirmed information in scientific discourse. They are also key to data stabilization, which is the process by which information comes to be accepted as evidence across a community. In other words, it isn't the case that a piece of data either fundamentally is or is not evidence. Rather, it becomes evidence over time through a series of interactional processes. Our research is interested in the role that evidential strategies, specifically epistemic adverbs, play in the process of data stabilization. We chose to examine the #UFO Twitter community, a group of UFO skeptics and enthusiasts on the app who are united in their interest in evidence and the highly contested nature of that evidence in the community. This young and ideologically heterogeneous community allows us to examine the process of data stabilization in action. Discourse on UFO Twitter necessarily centers around evidence, despite the lack of a standard by which to judge it. Our project was also very timely, given that on June 25th, a few weeks into our ethnographic research of the community, the Pentagon released a report discussing the US military's plans to investigate UFO phenomenon. This report included data from a highly authoritative government agency that was introduced into the discourse on #UFO Twitter, which we could then compare to data like the tweet shown on the left, which was introduced by other less authoritative figures in the community. The first step of our analysis was to compile a list of epistemic adverbs to examine, shown here, which we chose based on the categorizations proposed by linguists Wierzbecka and Quirk, and we then used the Twitter API to query tweets from the last year containing those adverbs, plus the term #UFO Twitter. The initial query produced around 1,600 unique tweets, and we found that almost all tweets fit into two categories: tweets about UFO phenomenon and tweets about secrecy and government disclosure of evidence. To analyze users participating in #UFO Twitter discourse and potential subcommunities in the group, we constructed a user graph from a corpus of around 240,000 tweets. And the Louvain method of community detection yielded no discernible grouping amongst the users. But given what we know about the #UFO Twitter community, this is actually not that surprising. The community is small and niche enough that many of the most active members will engage with each other, even across ideological boundaries. We also looked for content-based clustering patterns in the corpus via topic modeling, which revealed 3 topical groups. Topic 1 captures discourse about observed and experienced evidence. Topic 2 captures general UFO discourse, and topic 3 captures discourse about government reports and other authoritative sources of evidence. We actually see a difference in the distribution of each adverb across topics, which we plan to analyze once we have completed the manual coding of the data. This brings us to the next step in our research, which is to code the tweets based on the level of production of evidence at which the epistemic adverb is operating. This coding schema is based on Goffman's model of participation, but focuses on the production of evidence rather than the production of speech. We are currently in the process of manually coding this data, and the next step will be to analyze the results from the coding. We expect our results to find insights into the evidential hierarchy of the UFO Twitter community and to highlight the relationship between evidential strategies, stance taking, and the perceived reliability of evidence. So far, our research has shown that analyzing stance and evidentiality is an incredibly complex process, and that there currently does not exist a reliable or effective computational approach that can capture all of the contextual and linguistic factors that go into these processes. This inability to find a quick fix for understanding evidentiality and data stabilization explains why, in other cases of scientific discourse, Twitter has struggled to contain harmful disinformation. It is our hope that this analysis can contribute to a framework for understanding evidentiality and data stabilization, which can be applied not just to the UFO Twitter community, but to other science discourse communities on Twitter and across social media. Finally, I'd like to thank Professor Jones and Casey and the entire Language and Technology Lab for their continued support and mentorship and enthusiasm about this project. Thank you so much.